Hi readers, welcome to my week in books. Lee back again, and this is going to be a long one because, as usual, I lost control. And this is Saturday, I usually record these on Sundays, but I absolutely cannot buy another book this week. I just got back from the bookstore because while I was drinking my coffee this morning, I was watching a video from the Grape Jelly Library about Floss's April Reads, the book she plans to read for April, and she mentioned The Things They Carry by Tim O'Brien. Now, I read this in college, and I thought I had a copy still, my underlined copy, but apparently that got lost in the years, and I had to rectify that. I had to have a physical copy of this book. One of my favorite quotes from this book is, stories are for those late hours in the night when you cannot remember how you got from where you were to where you are. This is just a beautifully written book. It's something that stayed with me for decades. I was in college in the 90s and I still remember this book. And when I was thinking about it, again, I thought I had a copy, and I went and checked my app that I keep all my books in, and I did not have a copy. And I was like, what book am I remembering the cover of that is not this book? And the book I was remembering the cover of is Bloods, An Oral History of the Vietnam War by Black Veterans by Wallace Terry. Also, a book that stayed with me for 30 years. Both these books are great. Floss, I hope you have a great time reading this. I'd love to hear what you think about it when you finish. Now, on to the rest. The first book I bought this week was a book called Nightbloom. I saw it on some lists on the internet, of course. When Selassie and Akorfa were young girls in Ghana, they were more than just cousins. They were inseparable. Selassie was exuberant and funny, Akorfa quiet and studious, imploring their parents to let them be together, sharing their secrets and desires and private jokes. Then Selassie begins to change, becoming hostile and quiet. Her grades suffer and she builds a space around herself, shutting Akorfa out. Meanwhile, Akorfa is accepted to an American university with the goal of becoming a doctor. Although hopeful that she can create a fuller life as a woman in America, she discovers the insidious ways that racism places obstacles in her path once she leaves Ghana. It takes a crisis to bring the friends back together, with Selassie's secret revealed and Akorfa forced to reckon with her role in their estrangement. This is such an intriguing premise. This is by Adzo Medie, and I've not read anything else by her, but I really look forward to reading this. I love a book about women and relationships, and that seems like it'll fit the bill. Next up, another author I have not read, Embassie Susberry, who is also an attorney in, I think, the Chicago area. She's written a book called Codename Butterfly, and it is based on the fact that Josephine Baker was a spy in World War II. Paris, 1941. With Nazi occupation imminent, journalist Elodie Mitchell plans to return home to Chicago, but an unexpected invitation to a Josephine Baker show changes everything. Mistaken for the star, Elodie is whisked backstage where she discovers an underground resistance movement hidden beneath the glitz and glamour. Drawn into a whisper network of spies, Elodie accepts a perilous mission to go undercover as Josephine's cousin and gather vital intelligence. Now, over the past year, I've been increasing my reading of World War II fiction and World War II nonfiction, so this is right up that alley. I have taken a step back a little bit because sometimes when I read too much of one thing, I start hating it, and I didn't want to do that. There's really some great World War II fiction out there, and I will get to that one soon. Next up is The Husbands by Gramazio. One of the things I love is anything that involves like a time skip or a time slip, and this seems to be that. When Lauren returns home to her flat in London late one night, she's greeted at the door by her husband, Michael. There's only one problem. She's not married. She's never seen this man before in her life, but according to her friends, her much improved decor, and the photos on her phone, they've been together for years. As Lauren tries to puzzle out how she could be married to someone she can't remember meeting, Michael goes to the attic to change a light bulb and abruptly disappears. In his place, a new man emerges, and a new, slightly altered life reforms around her. Realizing that her attic is creating an infinite supply of husbands, Lauren confronts the question, if swapping lives is as easy as changing a light bulb, how do you know you've taken the right path? When do you stop trying to do better and start actually living? To be honest, I wish I had an attic of rotating husbands, because I would hire them to do them, or direct them to do the yard, to cut trees down. Oh, there's so many chores. Anywho, this seems like a fun time. I'm going to get to this soon. Just not sure when. On a darker note, this one I had on my list, and then I took it off my list, and then someone upped it in the socials, and I bought Lilith by Rickstad. I have actually read another of his books. It was The Silent Girls. I have that upstairs. Don't remember anything about it. That's how I roll. As you know, Lilith, I think, in mythology was Adam's first wife. Well, it's in the blurb. Mother, hero, villain, killer. After her son, Lydon, suffers traumatic injuries in a school shooting, single mom Elizabeth Ross grows enraged at men in power. If they won't do anything to help end this epidemic of violence, she will. Believing it's her destiny, she sets out to awaken the world to the cowards these men are and commits her own shocking act of violence. Going by the name Lilith, the first wife of Adam, who fled Eden rather than serve a man, she posts a video of her crime that reverberates throughout society. I'm not going to read the whole thing because this is already going to be a long video, but praised by some, demonized by others, events take startling twist when the FBI draws closer and Lydon starts to display odd, terrifying behavior. Elizabeth plots to avoid capture and keep her son safe at all costs, fearing she'll never escape what she's done without losing her son forever. This is such an intriguing premise, and it looks to be dark. So you know I love dark. That's going to go up there on Read Soon. Next up, I have been following this author on Twitter ever since Stephen King replied to one of her posts about a book she's writing called The Broken Dolls, and he said he wants to read it. I too want to read it, but it doesn't come out till 2025. So I ordered Ghost Girl by Malinenko, and this is middle grade fiction. I have not read any modern middle grade fiction in a long time, so I'm really looking forward to this. In this, Z Puckett loves ghost stories. She just never expected to be living one. Now she is seeing frightening things, large, scary dogs that talk, and maybe even a ghost? When she tells her classmates, only her best friend Elijah believes her. Worse, mean girl Nellie gives Z a cruel nickname, Ghost Girl. But then everyone's most selfish wishes start coming true in creepy ways. All three of them, Z, Elijah, and Nellie, will have to work together if they're going to give their ghost story a happy ending. This is going to be a read soon. I'm really looking forward to this. If I don't get to it in April, I definitely hope to get to it by May. Next up was kind of a surprise. I ordered it. I pre-ordered it, but I did not realize it was coming in when it came in, and that is one of my favorite authors, Philip Fracassi, with a story collection called No One Is Safe. I would have bought it for the cover art alone. I love this. I'm not very good at reading story collections. I think I've said this in another video. I've been reading the same essay collection called It Came From the Closet since last June, and I'm still not finished. I pick it up and then I put it down and then I forget about it. So I hope not to do that with this. If I ever finish It Came From the Closet, I'm going to pick this up and read these stories, hopefully between longer books. If you've not checked out Philip Fracassi, he is a great writer. My favorite of his is A Child Alone with Strangers, but he's also got Gothic, which is great, and Boys in the Valley, also great. Talking too much. Next up, for my Book of the Month selections, I chose the Book of the Month and then I chose the add-on. The Book of the Month I got was Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. I read, Alexa is talking in the other room. I don't know what she's going on about. I read her book, The Soulmate, last year and really enjoyed it. So I've got hope for Darling Girls. Let's see what this is about. For as long as they can remember, Jessica, Nora, and Alicia have been told how lucky they are. As young girls, they were rescued from family tragedies and raised by a loving foster mother, Miss Fairchild, on an idyllic farming estate and given an elusive second chance at a happy family life. But their childhood wasn't the fairy tale everyone thinks it was. Miss Fairchild had rules. Miss Fairchild could be unpredictable, and Miss Fairchild was never, ever to be crossed. In a moment of desperation, the three broke away from Miss Fairchild and thought they were free. Even though they never saw her again, she was always somewhere in the shadows of their minds. When a body is discovered under the home they grew up in, the foster sisters find themselves thrust into the spotlight as key witnesses. Or are they prime suspects? Again, another one I really want to get to soon. I've got high hopes for this. I might read this next after I finish what I'm currently working on. My add-on book was Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. Have you seen the movie Wedding Crashers? Is it Wedding Crashers? Yes, Wedding Crashers. It's Vince Vaughn and I forgot the name of the other guy, but I absolutely love that movie. Love all the characters, love all the actors in it, and I will rewatch it anytime it's on. So this reminded me of that. I'm going to just quickly blurb this because I've got several more books to go. When Sophie Steinbeck finds out just before her nuptials that her fiancé has cheated yet again, she desperately wants to call it off. But because her future father-in-law is also her dad's cutthroat boss, she can't be the one to do it. Her savior comes in the form of a professional objector whose purpose it is to show up at weddings and proclaim the words no couple, usually, wants to hear at their ceremony. I object. So then Sophie teams up with Max, the objector, and they start working together, going from wedding to wedding to object. And Sophie's having more fun than she's had in ages. I love the premise of this. This sounds awesome. It sounds like a fun read. I'm going to read this soon after I read something darker. Okay, speaking of not really dark, I am in my witchy romance reading era. And I started April with This Spells Disaster, and then I read a book about a serial killer, and then I was still having so much fun with my witchy reads that I picked up Payback's a Witch from my TBR. I already had this, and I just had a real good time with it. So the other day when I was bored, I was glancing at the Barnes & Noble website. I don't know how that happens. And I decided to look for some more witchy romances, which I'm not sure. Now that I'm onto the Lana Harper, these might wait a while until the next time I'm in a witchy mood. I first got The Witch is Back, where in this, Emmeline Bluewater's former fiancé, who left her without a word, comes back and wants to be her new fake fiancé. And, well, I'm going to have to find out what happens. I've not read any of Sophie H. Morgan's books before, but we'll see how it is. The next one I got was The Only Purple House in Town. I love a messy witch, and Iris Collins is one. She's a chaos bunny. Her sisters are all successful, but she can't balance her budget for a single month. So, when she unexpectedly inherits a house from her great-aunt, her plan to turn it into a B&B fails, as most of her plans do. She winds up renting rooms like a Victorian spinster, collecting other lost souls, and not all of them are human. Sounds good, right? Next up is, I only ended up with 3 witchy books because something happened and I got 2 from a different kind of genre, not genre, but whatever. Witches Get Stuff Done by Molly Harper. Again, not read any of hers. From the moment Riley Everett set foot in Starfall Point, magic bubbled inside her. But with only her late aunt's journals and a cantankerous live-in ghost butler to instruct her on all things witchy, including her newly inherited Victorian haunted house, Riley seeks out a coven for sisterhood and support. The last person she expects to be drawn to is the town's frustrating yet ridiculously attractive head librarian. So, I love a story about a witch who's newly discovering her powers. Or his powers. The final 2 books that I bought, and I did have 2 more books that I'm going to do a separate video on because this one's a little bit long. Again, Time Slip, Time Jump, 5 First Chances by Sarah Jost. What would you do if you had one more chance to get things right? Lou feels like she's stuck on the wrong path, alone in a city far from home, watching other people be happy. When the man she's in love with announces his engagement to someone else, Lou is consumed by what-ifs. That's when she finds herself slipping back in time to a night 2 years ago where one small decision changed everything. Suddenly, she's got a chance to fix her mistakes, but she's stuck in like a time loop of her own making. I love these kind of books. So much to read, so little time. And speaking of time, it's Time to Begin Again by Helly Acton. This is another book about what-ifs and choices made. Despite living firmly in her comfort zone, Frankie McKenzie feels unsettled. She can't help feeling something's missing. Is it a home to call her own? Travel? A more rewarding job? A relationship? Before she can work it out, she dies in a freak kebab-related accident after what she sees as yet another dud of a first date. But life isn't over for her. She's offered a second chance. She can revisit key moments from her past to see if different choices will lead her into the fulfilling life she's always dreamed of. And aside from the 2 subscription books that I got, which will be in a separate video, that's my week in books. I've got so many books that are really intriguing this week, and I cannot buy any more this week, and I really don't need to buy any more next week, although I think I at least have 1 pre-order coming in, which I'm excited for. And that is it for me. I hope you've had a great week in books. I'd love to hear about what you're reading, and if you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. That's it for me. Happy reading!